In the shadowed vaults of history, where whispers of forgotten emperors echo through cracked marble, lies an enigma that has baffled scholars for millennia. How does an empire that conquered the world vanish not with a cataclysmic roar, but with the faint sigh of a dying wind? This is the riddle of Rome, a colossal power that spanned continents, only to dissolve into dust, leaving behind ruins that tease us with their silent secrets. The empire that once stretched from the wild moors of Britain to the sunburnt sands of Egypt, from the plain of Gaul to the banks of the Euphrates, did not collapse in a single thunderous moment. It slipped, quietly at first, then with growing momentum into irrelevance. In that slow unraveling lies the true lesson, that greatness born of power can perish when the very heart of that power no longer believes in it. That empire was Rome, but what hidden forces conspired in the darkness to erode its foundations? Was it a curse from abandoned gods, a poison seeping from within, or something far more insidious? A mystery woven into the very fabric of human ambition? Imagine standing on the marble steps of the Forum in Rome around 117 AD, as the sun dips low and the flags of the empire flutter in a gentle breeze. On that day, the empire seems eternal, its legions victorious, its roads unending, its riches flowing in from every corner of the known world. Citizens go about their lives confident that nothing can touch them. The air hums with the chatter of merchants haggling over silks from distant Parthia, slaves whispering in exotic tongues, and senators debating laws that would echo through eternity. Yet, even in this golden hour, curious omens flicker like shadows at the edge of vision. A raven perching ominously on the statue of Jupiter, or a sudden gust scattering parchments that foretell distant rebellions. What if these were not mere coincidences, but harbingers of the enigma to come? Within a few centuries, the same roads will lie neglected, overgrown with weeds that choke the once impeccable engineering marvels. The treasures drained into the coffers of corrupt officials. The frontier shaken by strangers whose names evoke fear and mystery. Barbarians whose origins remain shrouded in the mists of uncharted lands. What changed? Was it the weight of glory itself, or a deeper, more elusive decay that historians still puzzle over today? It begins in the reign of that golden age, when Rome's grandeur seemed unassailable. Emperors like Trajan and Hadrian brought the horizon of imperial ambition to its farthest limit and built monuments to human will. Trajan, the optimist princeps, expanded into Dacia, where legend spoke of gold mines guarded by ancient spirits, and constructed his famous column in Rome, spiraling upward with scenes of conquest that still intrigue archaeologists with their hidden details. Tiny figures etched in stone that might depict secret rituals or forgotten battles. Hadrian, ever the enigmatic builder, erected his wall across the wilds of Britannia, a barrier not just against Picts and Scots, but perhaps against the unknown chaos beyond civilization's grasp. In that triumph lies the seed of decay, expansion beyond sustainable bounds. The empire had grown too large for any single mind or mechanism to govern. Supplies, armies, bureaucracy, the logistics of holding territory became a burden. Though the roads remained, snaking like veins across the landscape, the spirit that kept them maintained began to fall away. Curious, isn't it, how a network of stone paths, engineered to last forever, could crumble not from earthquakes, but from the apathy of those who walked them? Reports from provincial governors hint at eerie abandonments. Way stations left empty overnight, as if their keepers vanished into thin air, leaving only half-eaten meals and flickering lamps. When an empire must spend more defending what it already owns than building for the future, the warning bells ought to ring. By the 3rd century, Rome's coffers groaned under the weight of military upkeep, bureaucracy, and a shrinking margin for error. The currency was debased, coinage filled with less silver, and inflation began creeping into the marketplace like a thief in the night. Farmers in the provinces found their taxes heavier, their yields less secure, plagues of locusts devouring fields, or mysterious blights that turned wheat to ash, as if the land itself rebelled against its Roman overlords. Traders found the Mediterranean no longer a highway of boundless wealth, but a corridor of increasing risk, haunted by pirates whose lairs in hidden coves whispered tales of sunken treasures and cursed voyages. What drove these shadowy figures to prey on the empire's lifelines? Were they disgruntled former legionaries, or agents of rival powers plotting in secrecy? The sea, once Rome's mare nostrum, became a realm of uncertainty, where ships vanished without trace, their cargoes of spices and ivory lost to the depths. Political power, once the guarantor of order, became the engine of crisis. Emperors came and went in quick succession, their reigns a whirlwind of intrigue that reads like a detective's ledger of unsolved murders. The year of the 4 emperors in 69 AD was but a prelude. By the 3rd century, the throne was a poisoned chalice, claimed by figures like Elagabalus, whose eccentricities, marrying a Vestal virgin or parading a black stone deity through the streets, added layers of bizarre mystery to the palace halls. The loyalty of legions shifted from the Senate and people to the individual who paid or promised most. Civil wars, palace intrigue, assassinations, these became common enough that citizens living in the provinces may have experienced more governors than they did seasons. Imagine the whispers in the taverns of Gaul. Did you hear? The emperor's own Praetorian guard turned on him last night. Poison in his wine? Or a dagger in the dark? Such tales bred paranoia, turning the empire's core into a labyrinth of suspicion. The empire rotted from the top down, but curiously, artifacts unearthed from this era. Golden rings inscribed with cryptic oaths, or sealed scrolls hidden in villa walls, suggest secret societies or cults that may have accelerated the chaos, their motives lost to time. During these internal tremors, the outer walls trembled too. Bands of restless peoples beyond Rome's frontiers, Goths, Vandals, Huns, moved like shadows against a weakening wall. They pressed on the boundaries, sometimes invited in by treaty, sometimes bursting in by force. The Goths, emerging from the foggy forests of Germania, carried with them legends of ancestral migrations guided by prophetic dreams. The Huns, under Attila, the scourge of God, rode like apparitions from the steppes, their bows and horsemanship evoking fears of supernatural speed. In 410 AD, the Visigoths sacked Rome under Alaric, who curiously spared churches at the behest of a mysterious vision. Perhaps a divine intervention, or a calculated ploy to sow division. The city, eternal no more, echoed with the cries of the fleeing, its treasures looted in a frenzy that left historians pondering. What ancient artifacts were lost forever in that night of flames? In 455, the Vandals did so again, their fleet appearing like ghosts from the African shores, carting off empresses and gold as if fulfilling a long-forgotten prophecy. Those shocks did not in themselves bring down the empire, but they revealed something far more dangerous, that Rome was no longer invincible. The aura of invulnerability, once a shield, cracked like brittle pottery, exposing vulnerabilities that barbarians exploited with uncanny precision. One can ask, was it the rise of a new faith that did it? The conversion of the empire to Christianity has long been offered as a cause. Some say that the old Roman virtues declined, civic pride faded. The gods that had spurred ambition now faded into memory, replaced by crosses and catacombs where early believers met in secrecy, their symbols etched in hidden tunnels beneath the city. Curious lines from ancient texts describe visions and miracles. Constantine's dream before the Battle of Milvian Bridge in 312 AD, where a cross in the sky promised victory, altering the course of history in ways that still mystify. Did this shift sap the martial spirit, or did it provide a new glue for a fracturing society? Yet the modern view is more nuanced. Christianity changed the culture, yes. But the real collapse was not because people prayed more or less, it was because the structures of empire failed. Bishops rose in influence, their councils debating doctrines while legions starved. Monasteries sprang up like fortresses of faith, preserving knowledge amid the encroaching darkness. But what of the pagan holdouts, whispering incantations in forgotten temples? Their resistance adds a layer of intrigue, suggesting a cultural war fought in the shadows. Through the 4th and 5th centuries, the western half of the empire faltered, a slow bleed that historians trace like detectives following faint footprints. In 395, Theodosius I died, and the split between East and West became permanent. A decision shrouded in the mystery of his final will, dictated on his deathbed amid fevered visions. The richer, more defensible Eastern Roman Empire, with its capital at Constantinople, survived, its walls a marvel of engineering that withstood sieges as if protected by divine favor. But the western portion, burdened, overstretched, undermined, drifted toward dissolution. Emperors like Honorius retreated to Ravenna, a swampy refuge where ravens cawed ominously, symbolizing isolation from the empire's heart. Barbarian generals like Stilicho, half-Vandal himself, wielded power behind the throne, their loyalties a puzzle. Were they saviors or saboteurs? Then, in 476 AD, the last Western emperor, Romulus Augustulus, a boy king whose name ironically echoed Rome's founder, was deposed by Odoacer, a Germanic warlord who sent the imperial regalia east as a gesture of feigned respect. The Western Empire's last breath. But was it truly the end, or merely a transformation veiled in enigma? But that date is not the moment of dramatic collapse. The fall had been in motion for centuries, a creeping mystery that unfolded like a scroll revealing hidden codes. What matters more are the warning signals. The betrayal of the frontiers, where sentries reported ghostly apparitions in the night, perhaps scouts or omens. The bribery of the legions, soldiers turning mercenary for the highest bidder, their oaths as fleeting as mist. The senatorial palace murders, where daggers flashed in candlelit chambers, leaving blood-stained mosaics that archaeologists still analyze for clues. The empty granaries, echoing with the scuttle of rats, as famines gripped the land in unexplained waves. The unpaid soldiers, mutinying in camps where whispers of rebellion spread like wildfire. These all add up, forming a tapestry of decay whose patterns intrigue us still. Curious how economic models today simulate these ancient crises, revealing fractal-like repetitions in history's chaos. And yet, even when the Western Empire faded, the cultural pulse of Rome carried on, a lingering ghost that haunts the ages. Laws, codified in the Theodosian Code, influenced medieval justice with their intricate webs of precedent. Architecture, from aqueducts arcing like frozen rainbows to domes inspiring cathedrals, whispered secrets of lost engineering. Christian institutions all remained, evolving into the church that would shape Europe. The Eastern Roman Empire, later called Byzantium, endured for nearly another 1,000 years, its emperors claiming descent from Augustus, their court a labyrinth of Byzantine intrigue, literally, with plots involving poisoned rings and hidden passages. So perhaps the end is misleading. The lesson lies not in the final moment but in the unraveling, a mystery that defies simple closure. What then can we learn from Rome's decline? First, power is seductive, but it preys on its possessors, luring them into overreach like a siren's call from uncharted seas. When ambition and expansion become ends in themselves, they carry a hidden cost, buried in the sands of time. Rome collected more provinces, more soldiers, more tribute, and eventually that accumulation became its burden, a weight that crushed innovation under bureaucracy's heel. Second, the internal rot matters more than the external blow. Leverage from outside can speed the end, but the root causes are within, festering like unseen wounds. When governing becomes survival, not service. When profit becomes reward, not stewardship. When loyalty becomes transaction, not conviction. Then the edifice begins to crack, revealing fissures that curious explorers probe with awe. Third, adaptability is essential. Rome failed to reinvent its core strategy when old realities changed, clinging to frontiers built for a different age, relying on institutions suited for a different economy, and ignoring the silent decay while chasing glory. What if they had heeded the augur's warnings, those enigmatic priests reading entrails for signs of doom? Today, we look across centuries and see parallels, shadows of Rome in our own world that stir uneasy questions. Nations gather wealth, grow militarily, expand influence, and believe they are eternal, much like those forum dwellers under Trajan's sun. But if the people who hold power lose the sense of purpose, if the systems meant to serve begin to serve themselves, if the horizon becomes expansion rather than flourishing, then history offers a harsh mirror, reflecting back distorted images of our potential fate. Consider the modern enigmas. Economic bubbles bursting like ancient debased coins, political scandals echoing senatorial betrayals, borders pressed by migrations that recall barbarian waves. Are we blind to our own omens, the subtle shifts in climate, technology, or society that could unravel our empires. In the end, the empire that once showed the world how far human ambition could reach also shows how far human hubris can fall. The ruins of Rome may stand silent now, but their lesson is deafening. No empire, no matter how mighty, is immune to decay from within. And for those of us chasing greatness, the question must never be, how can I conquer more? But rather, how can I build something worth enduring? Yet, the ultimate mystery persists. What unseen threads connect Rome's fall to our present? And can we decipher them before it's too late? The stones of the Colosseum, scarred by time, hold their secrets close, inviting us to ponder, to question, to unravel the eternal enigma of empire's twilight.